Rise. Rise, Commander.
Hey, it worked. What happened, you say? Well, you woke up Cinderella and then committed seppuku shortly after. And now I've risen you from the dead. You have endured great suffering, haven't you? I mean, you tried rising the origin heretic, a NIKKE with unlimited potential and plot armor, and a NIKKE with a mouth that would even put Little Mermaid to shame, all at the same time and in the middle of nowhere? Who could blame you for what you did? You don't remember? Well, allow me to remind you. Cinderella was a century-old relic that chose you to be her breedable and submissive prince. Despite enduring 100 years of suffering herself, one of the first things on her mind after awakening was your Donald Duck. Those dormant years of pent-up volatile desires were to be treated with utmost caution. Grave, her lifelong loyal friend, would have been immensely disappointed if you didn't reciprocate Cindy's feelings, perhaps even to the point of making her an enemy. Cinderella also demonstrated some emotional instability in her past. Any hint of betrayal from you, her prince, whether actual or perceived, would have been disastrous. Additionally, Cindy was, as you know, a heretic, so naturally you made immediate enemies with members of the central government. Not ideal. And we haven't even gotten to her extremely high combat prowess. Evident in her event, she could insta-kill most NIKKEs with her wide AoE attacks, meaning if she ever decided to turn on you, it would be over instantly. It was also quite reasonable to say that her flight capabilities likely far surpassed even the speed of Isabel. You know, the other crazy lady. Of course, the greatest evidence of her prowess was her ability to stave off multiple members of the Goddess Squad by herself. She nearly soloed the most powerful NIKKE squad in all of history, albeit a squad without their leader. Finally, whether you liked Cinderella or not, it was necessary for you to make that sacrifice, or as we called it, the take one for the team principle. If you cared for your comrades and humanity's safety, you were forced to demonstrate affection. Rappy, besides you, was pretty much the main protagonist. Evidence over time suggested Rappy had an increasing possessive characteristic after each chapter, the possession being you. Studies showed a direct correlation between her want for your manhood and her power level. Thus, in order to keep her power levels at maximum, you had to demonstrate affection at a reasonable capacity in Rappy's eyes. Just as a side note, NTR implications were acceptable, but your heart had to belong to her in the end. Judging by the fact that you ended yourself, I can safely assume that didn't go very well. This finally brings us back to the first point, that Rappy was a main character. The chances of her being the one were very high, thus increasing the output of her plot armor, which in turn made her virtually indestructible. What happens if you put up an indestructible object against an immovable... whatever that quote was? Well, you bring about the acceleration of the end of the world. Anis, or Anise apparently, God, why do they do this to us, is the mildest of the three, so I'll spare you the basic information that you already know. Anis used 3 formidable skills to secure a position by your side. Skill 1, nagging, the ability to pinpoint weaknesses and exploit them with verbal firepower. We saw her demonstrate this multiple times with Eunhwa with excellent effectiveness. Skill 2, Grudge. Anis had clearly gone through a lot in her NIKKE life and her previous real human life. Messing with her heart would have added to the traumatic experience, leading her further down the path of bitterness and increasing her attack power of Skill 1 by 250%. Skill 3, Redemption. The devs have been teasing us for a while that an upgrade was needed for our 2 favorite side characters, Anis and, what's her face? Just in case her eventual power creep will lead to further infighting, you were involuntarily shackled for this uncertain future. You might ask why I'm not talking about Summer Anis, and as you can see with the black bars, I want to stay safe for work for once. Skill 4. Show up in a more skimpy outfit than the other 2. That's it. That's the skill. And there's the gist of it. Do you remember now the agony, the constant tug of war you became between 3 robots of destruction? Well, you're a pussy. Get up, soldier. Humanity and the goddesses still need you.
王子様も美しいわね。